Hi everybody, it's Denna Babel, the creator of the Fatherless Daughter Movement. I just got off my live conference call for all the girls in the tribe talking about Father's Day, and I decided to go live. I'm not sure why I put a call back to back, but that's me trying to kill myself out here for everybody. I wanted to do a Father's Day call so that people could kind of understand how hard it is for a girl who's fatherless on Father's Day. So it's coming up. It's obviously going to be here in a couple of days. And I'm sure any of you who are facing Father's Day, whether it would be that your father died or that he left by choice, it's a really hard day for you. And I understand it. I lost my dad in 1984. And am still dealing with it, although I deal with it much easier now. It's something that, is always hard to imagine, that you're going to go your whole life without seeing your father again and watch everybody around you celebrate Father's Day, and you're out here kind of lost wondering, well, what do I do on my day? How do I handle it? And you don't want everybody necessarily feeling sorry for you, obviously, but it is a time of grieving for a lot of people when it's all over the media and everybody's talking about what they're doing with their dad for that day. Think about the girls that you know, your friends and the people that you love that are also fatherless. Think about what they're going through and maybe reach out to them on that day and let them know that you are thinking about them, that you do care about them, and ask them what they're doing. Maybe invite them over to celebrate with you or come to a cookout or something like that that you think they may want to do. They may decline the offer, but it also might be something that's very helpful for these girls. So I like to start by defining what fatherlessness is, because not everybody understands it. We described it in our book, The Fatherless Daughter Project, and I'll get my lovely assistant to hand it to me because I don't have it in my hand so I can show it to y'all. But we described what a fatherless daughter is. See, looky. We describe it as the lack of an emotional relationship between a daughter and a father, whether it is divorce, incarceration, death, abuse, addiction, or just plain emotional detachment. So whatever it is and how that makes you feel. Thanks to everybody who's joining. I see a lot of old friends and faces and new friends and faces, so I appreciate y'all joining me today. So I wanted to do this live because a lot of times we get questions. So if anybody has a question, just shoot me the question. I'll be glad to answer it. We did a lot of that today on our call that ran over a little bit, so I'm sorry. But statistically, you hear a lot of stuff about being fatherless, and it's not always the nicest statistics. Many fatherless daughters have children early. They marry and divorce a couple of times. They may run into problems with education or live in poverty. They're usually reared by a single mother who then has to work maybe multiple jobs, and so that then leaves the daughter at home or her children at home, and so she may feel like she can't do everything, and it's like, where do I do? Am I home with my kids, or what do I do? And I felt like the statistics that I saw seemed just out of date, and so my co-author and I decided to do our own research, and we wanted to find out what makes these girls resilient, because God knows we are, and what's the positive side, if there is any, of fatherlessness. And the positive side is that you become very resilient at a young age. You acquire leadership skills. You're loyal to a fault. You surround yourself with people that are loyal back to you because you know how important it is not to be left behind. And so it's very important for these fatherless daughters to have this great group of friends beside them and people that they deem as loyal. So for a fatherless daughter, if she feels like a person is gonna possibly abandon her, whether it be a marriage, a divorce, a friendship, she will do a couple of things. She'll take off and she'll never let you know how bad it's upsetting her. but these girls do go through a lot of pain and a lot of sorrow because they are trying to tough it out for themselves. What they had to do is put together their own playbook and kind of teach themselves how to be fatherless and how to take on the masculine energy because they didn't have the father. So a lot of these girls may react a little more aggressively than maybe another girl and may be given different definitions. She's too bossy, she's too aggressive, she's too emotional, she's too bitchy, or whatever it is. But the fact is they had to figure it out for themselves, so they don't really completely know. So what I want people to do is understand the difference. Obviously, I want you to read this book. It's not a plug, although it is. But the truth is, I wrote this book, and Karin helped me write this book because it's the book we needed to have ourselves when we were young girls. Everything you need to know is in here. We meet you where you are in the fatherless journey. We take you throughout it, from developmentally, if it started when you were 2 or 3 years old, or if it started when you were 60 years old. We talk about having children, being married, and all the things that happen. I think for someone on Father's Day, it's important to both hurt and heal. And I say that because you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel sad. You're going to see things that if your father passed away, you're going to notice, you're going to miss him. You're going to wonder. I know there's a couple of girls on the call right now who have had their fathers who've passed away, and you miss them and you want them in your life. And it might be something that you write them a letter on Father's Day. Maybe you surround yourself with other people in your family, extended family, or his best friend, or people that could tell you stories about him and maybe bring him back to life for a little bit of time so you can have him. Another thing I would say is, if you've lost your father due to death, is, talk to him. I have a better relationship with my father on the other side than I did when he was here, believe it or not. So you can talk to him, you can deal with everything you have going on, and talk to friends and family who love you. If your dad left by choice, that's another story. If he left by choice, you're kind of stuck with being angry and sad at both ends of the spectrum. You're not sure if you want him back in your life. You're not sure how to ask him back in your life. You don't want to be re-abandoned again. So it's just kind of like an unfulfilled prophecy, and you don't know which end to go with. What I would say is, think about the 3 Ps. And I talked about those on my last call, but there was a researcher that was the founder of psychology that talks about the 3 Ps and how we view trauma. And fatherlessness and abandonment is a trauma. So the 3 Ps are, do we personalize it? Do we make a situation about us even though it may not be about us? So do we say, my dad left because I'm unworthy or I'm unlovable? Do we put that on top of us versus it being maybe about him? A lot of times I get a lot of emails and calls from single fathers or fathers that are estranged from their children. And they say, I don't know what to do. I left, I was not a great father, and I'd like to get back in their life. And what I tell them is, be prepared to tell them exactly what you can give them. Can you give them what they need? And if you can't, be honest and forthright, because you don't want to get re-abandoned. For a fatherless daughter, the hallmark issue is fear of abandonment. And if they feel like you're going to leave them, it will send them in a tailspin. And so you can't do that. So as far as personalization of the 3 Ps, figure out if it's really your fault. Is it your fault? Did he leave because you got in an argument or something like that you can fix or make better? Or did he leave because of a fault of his own, or a choice, or of an addiction or abuse or incarceration? And if that's it, it's on him. It's not about you. There's also her pervasiveness. I'm reading way too much stuff right now. And that is about when some people feel like this is gonna, take over my whole life. And this is, how am I gonna make this whole thing about me? Is it something that I should give my whole life to, or is it just a moment in time? Can I disassociate and go back to work? Or is it gonna cloud my whole life? Is it gonna take over my relationships? Am I going to be depressed? Am I going to decide to check out because this person really checked out of my life? And you have to make that decision as to how much time you're going to let it take over your life and if you can be okay with it. So those are 3 things, and it talks about how just taking control of your life and realizing that you're not going to let trauma take over your whole entire world. Because if he chose to leave, it's about him, it's not about you. If he died and it was not his choice and he left by death, you can love him from afar, you can be upset that he passed away, but you don't have to let it take over your whole entire life. Now, when you go right through an early part of losing someone, obviously it takes over your whole world. That's what it does. That's what grief does. And you take a time and you're kind of thrown all over the place until you figure out, this is not what I want to do. This is not the life I want to have. I need to do more. Grief will stop you from your purpose. It'll make you spend your whole life in victimhood. And I think when people say victim, it sounds, like Nana and a boo-boo, you're a victim, and that's not what it is. When you're a victim, you're really a victim. Something terrible happened to you, and it makes complete sense. But don't let it take over your whole world. So on Father's Day, think about that. Either he left by choice or he left, due to death. And give it the time that it needs on Father's Day. Grieve it, journal about it, talk to your best friend, your mother, other family members. My brother and I reach out together every Father's Day just to kind of say, hey, I'm here, hey, you're there, we're going through the same thing. Grieve it, feel the hurt, and then decide that you would like to heal. Don't spend your whole day doing that. And then pick up the phone, call a friend, go to a movie, take a walk, do whatever it is that you need to do to heal yourself and get some positive serotonin and momentum going in your body for that day, because it's traumatic enough. There are a lot of trends that go with post-trauma, and there's 5 different things that we talk about in trauma and how to turn into a positive experience. And again, I'm not saying fatherlessness is a positive experience. That's why I voice this. This is why my whole purpose is about being the voice of fatherless daughters, because it is painful. But what I want to help you do is to find purpose and break through that pain. And so a lot of people, when they go through trauma, they sometimes see it as an opportunity. Once they have went through this pain, they see it as an opportunity, as what did I learn from it? How can I use this to heal other people, much like what I use my pain and my trauma with? How can I turn this terrible experience into something positive so that I can help other people? And there's a lot of power that comes with that. Not only psychologically do you heal quicker, you also give away a lot of power and you help other people heal. So it's really important to do that. A second area of change is in relationships. Some people experience closer relationships when they've been through a trauma. They know how important it is to feel love, and they know how important it is to give love. And so they hold on to those relationships a lot tighter because they mean more to them. And they love probably a lot deeper than maybe someone who has not been through a trauma. A third area of possible change is to see someone's strength. So what may have gotten you down in the past and what may have knocked you out in the past, a loss of a job, a loss of a relationship, or different things, you might just dust off now and say, I don't have time for this. Life is much harder. I've been through something much worse. I like to tell a story about a girlfriend of mine, and I hope she's not listening, but she had this great father-daughter relationship. And it was during a time when I was in deep mourning over my own father in my 20s. And I remember being jealous, watching her father change her oil for her, even pick up a Christmas tree and take it up the steps for her. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to pick up my own Christmas tree. And I remember she called me in the middle of the night one night and said, oh my God, my bed just fell. And I said, well, get it. This is back when they had those old phone books. And I said, well, get a phone book and put it under your bed and go back to sleep. To me, that was trivial. To her, it was a big event. But I think when you've been through something very traumatic, life, these little teeny blips on the radar aren't that big of a deal, and you don't have as much time to deal with a bunch of nonsense. So that's a third level of strength. You say to yourself, if I can live through that, I can face anything. And that's the power you give out to other people, and that's the energy you give out. And so you take those qualities of leadership and you help heal other people. And a lot of healers and people that work in their purpose and light workers come from a traumatic experience. A fourth aspect of post-trauma growth is when you have a greater appreciation for life in general. So again, it could be to death, it could be to a sickness or something, a major life event that teaches you that life is not to be taken advantage of, and you gotta live every second to the fullest. So if you're mourning your fatherlessness, and it's very normal to do so because society doesn't recognize that this is a big deal for us and that it's painful. If you're going through the mourning process and you're feeling as though, you know, you've been beat up and spit out, don't forget to look at all the people around you, your husband, your children, your family, and all the wonderful things and people that do surround you, because they're still there and they're still ready to love you, and don't forget about them. The fifth area involves a spiritual or religious domain. And a lot of people experience a deeper level of spirituality when they go through trauma. And it could be that they get into a different religion, or they quit their job and go seek deeper purpose because they, again, feel like they have something to give to other people. So don't discount your trauma. Don't feel like that your life is over because you don't have that father in your life. And I have to share with y'all, this is crazy. There's a red bird outside of my house, and you know, everyone says that red birds are angels and bring peace. So I guess that could have been my dad. I don't know who it was, but I appreciate him stopping by. But I just want to say that Father's Day is rough. It is something that we're all going to mourn. And if you love a girl that's fatherless, make sure you give her some extra attention. You know, don't label her. Don't make her feel any more unstable than she already feels. Love her through it. Let her know that you're not going to leave her, that you're there to stay, and you're there to go through this process with her, because fatherlessness is a journey. It is something that will ebb and flow and mature as you do. There's going to be major life moments that is, you know, the birth of a child, or possibly a new job, or the death of a family member, or graduation, or so many things where you're going to wish your dad was there. And that's okay to grieve. You should grieve it. And there's going to be moments where you just want to grieve all the time because you're sad. Your birthday, Father's Day, Christmas, the day he died, all that is very normal. But what you can do is turn the trauma around, and you can figure out a way to make sure that it doesn't take over your entire world, because he would not want that. No father wants that for their child. And I promise you, you've developed these insane skills of leadership, loyalty, and all the overpowering things that you've learned in your own playbook and you've learned through life, that you're a fighter, you're resilient, and you have the capability to change people's lives. And that's what you can do. So make sure that you take this pain and this trauma of this father loss and you do something good with it. That's what I'm trying to do. That's why I'm talking to you today. So if you have any questions, or you want to hear more of my wonderful Southern voice and the fact that I need Botox, if you want to see me or hear from me, check me out on YouTube. I have my own channel on YouTube. It's called The Denna Babel Show. You can just look up Denna Babel. We have a cool mentorship program coming up on Saturday, July 8th. Here in Atlanta, we're going to have mentors in every city and state all over America, helping fatherless daughters find their purpose and break through their pain. I'm writing 2 books, an ebook. Who knows when that's going to be finished because it's exhausting. And also relationship rehab, about everything relationships, because that's what all of us want to know. So if you have any questions, go to DennaBabel.com and take care of yourself on Father's Day. And remember, I have 10 mantras for you, and I do have to read this because I can't remember anything. But I wrote these. Can you pull these up for me? I'm sorry, I can't even figure out IT. So I wrote these mantras and I have to read them. Okay, so this is it. I feel like a guru now. So my 10 mantras for fatherless daughters on Father's Day. You're perfect the way you are. You're not broken. You're not broken. Remember that. You are not broken. If someone can't handle you, they're not your people, but you're not broken. The right man will find you. He will cherish you in ways you can never imagine. So quit worrying. And I see a couple of girls on here that I know are worrying. So quit worrying. I wish I could call your name, but I won't. You will get that job, start that company, finish that degree. You will. So quit worrying. You will heal. His loss will not overshadow every bit of your happiness. I promise. You can let go of whatever or whoever no longer serves you. It's okay to release the pain and be in the light. It does not mean that you have forgotten. It means you finally decided to choose yourself, and that's what you should be doing. You're beautiful, intelligent, loyal. You're a badass. You figured it out a long time ago. If people don't realize this, let them go. And just know that if you forgive someone and you let them go, you don't always have to start that relationship back. You don't have to rebuild it. You can let them go, bye, in love, and be free. Today and on Father's Day, I want you to observe everything you've overcome. It's huge. You've overcome so many obstacles in your life, and I want you to be proud of the woman you are, just like your father would be proud of who you are. I want you to tell that inner child that while you appreciate the tantrums and you appreciate the fun that she is, you do not need her anymore. She doesn't have to lead. You as an adult can lead your life. You're a powerhouse with the ability to have whatever you want in this life. So I want you to go out and get it. I want you to take care of yourself, and I want you to know that there's a whole tribe back here ready for you. Just go to dennababel.com, and happy Father's Day to all the fatherless daughters out there. This is about you. We are a tribe. It's okay to mourn, it's okay to heal, and it's okay to hurt. But don't let it take over your life. Thanks. Talk to you soon.